That's what I do. But I'll start with a framing, which is the media has shifted in the last number of years to where we are solidly in a new era, the user-centric era. Started 5 years ago, when millennials turned 40, when Gen Z turned 25. Today, 64% of the world's population is under the age of 40. So if you're over the age of 40, like surprisingly myself, you're in the minority. 70% of the world's population are millennials or younger. Millennials, Gen Z, and Gen A. 58% of the US population is Gen Y, millennials, or younger. 51% of super fucking whole Europe is millennials or younger. Millennials, Gen A, or Gen Z. The user-centric era demands that you put your audience, your users, your community at the center of everything you do. Servicing your users is your main product now. But you have to know who that audience is. Gen Z is the first generation to grow up on social media. The first generation to come of age with an unregulated supercomputer in their pocket. The first generation to live post 9/11. The first election was Trump generation. So Gen Z don't just see the world differently. They live in a completely different world. So until and unless you strive to understand Gen Z and each of the three youngest generations, you have no chance to reach them, no matter where you put your media. And you can't suffer, most of all, from the fear of finding out that Gen Z is now turning 30, that they're not kids, that they're having kids, or more accurately, choosing not to have kids more often than not. The fear of knowing that these generations are going to be super important to your business from this point forward. They're not just heads of households, they're heads of businesses very often. You have to avoid the fear of finding out that they do not and never will use traditional media the way the last era did. You have to avoid the fear of finding out that there are ways to reach these youngest generations, but they're nuanced and complicated and difficult and sometimes dangerous and quite different from the top-down publisher push model of our upbringings. I recently dropped a report on the generation gap in media. Using data from a bunch of different sources, it showed a clear division of media consumption into two divergent, quite different ecosystems, one for millennials and younger, and another for Gen X and older. And while there are overlaps, you can see in the data clearly how the two cohorts very much differently watch TV, listen to music, and consume their news. In the user-centric era, the data is the voice of the audience, and the data is screaming at you, and it debunks a lot of the mythologies about Generation Z. What's fascinating is how the same exact content can find two different sets of generations on different platforms. News content on television, Gen X and older. News content on streaming, even local news, where 2/3 of Gen Z say they stream local news. On movies, which is a great example. In theaters, youngest audience, median audience, age audience in media. On TV, movies skew really old. I worked with Channel 4 recently and to re-examine their distribution for their premium streaming, for the premium long-form content. They put their library, same series that they were running on television and on their app, on YouTube, and they found an audience a generation younger for the same content. CBC did the same thing. And they found that on YouTube, they got, for the same exact content, they found 2 generations younger than their broadcast audience and a generation younger, 15 years younger than their streaming app audience. Same exact content. You can reach Gen Z, but you have to play by their rules. Generation Z is the largest generation in the United States. They will be at the core of your business and at the key consumer block for the next 2 decades. Today, 54% of the workforce is Gen Z or millennials. Gen Z now hold more jobs in the United States than boomers do. Okay, boomer. Many of my Gen X and boomer peers tell me they feel like they can't say anything in front of their Gen Z team members for fear of saying the wrong thing. I've been teaching at NYU for 18 years. I've taught 2 different generations, millennials and Gen Z, through their teens and early 20s. and I have remained friends and coworkers with a lot of them for many, many years. The single most important key to understanding Generation Z is actively trying to understand Generation Z, to listen to what they say and try to understand why they do what they do. The effort itself really matters. Gallup found that 60% of today's managers believe that they give clear and actionable feedback to their employees. 60%. Only 35% of employees feel that they get clear and actionable feedback from their managers, and only 12% of employees report ever having been asked how they'd like to get feedback on their performance. Yes, boomers, you need to ask people how they'd like to get feedback from you. Why? Because it was always the right thing to do. We just never did it before. Now we can. People my age will ask me why Gen Z don't appreciate the job more, why they don't come into the office. They don't like to come into the office on regular hours, don't have loyalty. My response is, look at the fucking world we built. At the state of our industry. If you were a Gen Z right now, would you do everything we said to do just because we said to do it? The fuck you would. The one thing I know to be 100% true about Gen Z is that if you expect loyalty, expect to be disappointed. Given the state of the world they inherit, it's obvious why many Gen Zers look at the rules and regs of today's workaday rat race and say hard pass. Given the reliable and radical disappointment by our heroes and our leaders, it's understandable that this generation would reject our narrowing monoculture and follow their own rules, find their own heroes, celebrate in their own skin, get lost in their own communities, in their own weird corners of the internet and the world, which is what sometimes makes Gen Z culture hard for the rest of us to translate or penetrate. But for the olds in the room, if you do listen, if you do try, if you earn the respect rather than expect the respect, you'll find that I have, that Gen Z is far more worldly than we were, far more connected than we are, and so empathetic, it is in fact a superpower. Most importantly, for everyone here, and anyone out there who's listening, I guess, the only way your company, your brand, or your organization can hope to succeed in the user-centric era is to put your audience at the center of everything you do. Gen Z is now 30. Put them in the room where it happens. What could possibly be worse about the world right now by empowering Gen Z to lead? And what might we learn by doing so? So I am really, really honored to be here with the Young Lion, Team US Young Lions. They've got this great contest this week. I believe in their power to bring home the gold, but you've already won by being here in the first place. And I'm proud not because they represent the future, but because they and everyone like them are the key element to right now. Thank you. Oh, thank you.